How's everyone tonight? Good? Good. Well, welcome again. And here we are once again to start our therapeutic meeting. So, I think I've met you before, so my name is Fran, welcome. We have Flavia and Will here as well, so there's 3 of us today. And all the spiritual workers are for sure here as well, supporting the work tonight. And yeah, we've been excited about this month because we had an exciting talk last month about the power of thoughts, and we're talking about some tools and things that we could do to boost our positivity, I guess. And we talked about a challenge, 30-day of positive affirmations that we were going to try and do throughout the month. So starting September to the end of the month. Has anyone had a chance to?
Yeah, but it's pretty hard. It's pretty hard to just remember that we gotta be positive at least once during the day.
One thing a day, one affirmation.
One affirmation a day.
Yeah,
It was good.
Was it good?
I had a look at that, what's her name again?
Louise Hay.
Louise Hay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, because
Yeah.
it's hard for me to meditate, and I've learned how to.
Yeah,
it sounds pretty good.
Yeah, she has this guided kind of affirmations you can just listen to and repeat. I think, sometimes you need to go into repeat mode. You can't just create, and then, with time you learn to kind of create your own, and that was good. So did you find any difference?
So it's good, right? It's good to be positive. But it's just hard to remember to be positive at least, especially when you're just going through a few struggles. But I've tried my best, but 30 days, I don't think that happened.
No, it's okay. We can do a challenge for the next month, and then we keep going. Each month it's a little bit better.
I did as well, and I asked my kids to help me. So in the morning, when I was driving them to school, you have like 4 sentences, like a mantra.
Oh, cool.
And they, it worked. They helped me, and they were. I think it was very nice.
Good. Yeah, I think sometimes when you have more than one person doing them together,
Remember?
it helps. Yeah. It's a collective effort sometimes.
I think it's a very good to remind us.
Yes, they are.
Oh, yeah.
Probably more excited about challenges and different things, and
If you make it a game, yes.
Yes, it was a challenge and a game for them, so
There you go. That's a nice hint. When you're done. So cool. See, here you go. Get your kids involved as well. Maybe that will help. Definitely would help. Yeah. Anywho, well, that's good. So tonight's topic is about anxiety and how to overcome it. So I think even when we set ourselves goals like that, like, oh my God, I'm going to have a 3rd day doing this, doing that, we can feel anxious just before we start. So we're going to talk a little bit about then the concept of anxiety. What are the normal emotional anxiety patterns, and how can we identify when it's not healthy, like when we actually need professional help, I guess. And obviously from the Spiritist point of view, how we can implement tools to help reduce anxiety. So how do we cope with it? How do we overcome it? So hopefully we can get that all covered. So we'll start off just with the concept of anxiety then. So anxiety is a normal emotion that it is essential for our survival. It's natural to feel anxious about things that are about to happen, that we have hopes that will happen, so it's part of our human nature to have desire. And with desire, we can have that feeling of, oh my God, this is going to turn out. And it could be like a positive thing, as in a hope for something to happen. So the natural anxiety, the desire that what is already happens, or the normal expectations surrounding the existential things that we go through, compose this healthy picture of anxiety when we're balanced. So if you're a little anxious, something happens, okay, or it doesn't happen, okay, it didn't happen, good, okay, and you stay balanced. So that would be the natural state of this emotion. And with all the emotions, even the primary emotions in humans, we have to understand that they all have been developed to be here with us for a purpose. So anxiety and fear are quite correlated, and fear is a primary emotion that has been designed to help us survive, basically. If we were on fearless mode all the time, we probably would do things that would put our existence to risk. And self-preservation is part of our instinct. So we developed self-preservation as we were developing through the different reigns. So, you know, it's quite complex. I won't go back that further, but before we were created as humans, this primary intelligence that we have has been evolving in different reigns of nature. Yeah, thank you. So this intelligence was evolving, and when we were created as humans, we were given then will and choices, of course, like we saw, you know, last talk, we were talking about the power of thoughts, how we have will, and the will determines what we do and what we want to do. But we have the instincts, right? So fear is one of the primary emotions that helps us survive. So if you go through Darwin's evolutions of the species, you know, the stronger and the more intelligent survives because obviously they take cautious actions towards things that were dangerous. So when we have situations in day-to-day life where we are expecting something that we're facing, that we're desiring, it's normal to have that anxiety. When we're waiting for an answer from someone, say, you know, we went through an extensive process of applying for jobs, and, you know, we saw that one job that we really liked, and, you know, we were waiting for this answer, like you've interviewed and you're waiting for the answer. It's a natural thing to feel that anxiety that, oh my God, this is going to happen, this is not going to happen. Before we make a decision, sometimes, you know, you have two paths to choose from, and you're like, okay, this is a good one, you know, say we've done all the interviewing and we've got 2 job offers, and you're like, oh my God, which one do I choose? It's normal to feel that anxiety. Before and after a situation of risk or danger, you know, say you were driving, you just avoided an accident to happen. Someone crossed and you stopped and you're like, oh my God, it's normal, you have some heart palpitations, you feel a little bit anxious about what just happened, but then you go back to your natural mode, which is you relax and you go, okay, well that's done now. If you're waiting for test results, so these are just regular examples, I guess, of when it's a natural thing to feel anxious. But there is another side of anxiety, which is this intense ill-being state, physically and emotionally, accompanied by affliction and agony. That is the unhealthy type of anxiety. So you're waiting for an answer, but you can't do anything else whilst you wait for the answer. You feel paralyzed. Or day-to-day things that are quite simple might become a huge challenge because we're so afraid of failure that we don't want to leave the house, for example. You're so anxious about what can happen if you step out of the door. So there's a few things, like a few irrational things that might happen in our minds, and like we were saying last month, it all starts in the mind. So you can start with an irrational fear of something, and we have instinctively the emotion, and we have the physical impact. So people who are anxious generally feel a few physical symptoms. So it starts in the mind, it affects our emotional being, and then, of course, because we are spirits, we're always transmuting energy from both realms, we feel it in our physical bodies as well. So natural symptoms of anxiety physically are heart palpitations or arrhythmia. So out of the blue, you think about something, the heart goes crazy. Sweating or excessive perspiration. So just by, you know, thinking about doing something or before having a talk to someone, you sweat. You're like covered in sweat. Exaggerated unease and fear of failure. So like I said, you might not even start something because you already think you're gonna fail. So why do you even bother starting? Or, you know, so you get that paralyzed feeling. So they say, I think in psychology they have this term which is paralysis due to over-analysis. So you're already thinking of all the 100 possible outcomes that could happen, and then you don't even start something because, oh, you're not sure one of those 100 things can happen, so why would you do it? And obviously stomach upsets or diarrhea, that's one of the common ones as well. You know, before the big test or before a public talk or before something happens, you feel, oh my God, and you know, all those toxins in your body go to your digestive system, which is generally the center of emotions here. So we have our different energy fields and energy energy forces connected to the physical body. So the one for emotions is this one. And that's why sometimes people think, oh, you know, my heart is in my stomach or my stomach is up in my throat. Like they always correlate emotions with the stomach as well. So it's not just the heart, it's the stomach. So I'll use as a reference, just so you know, this book here. Majority of the things that we have from the Spiritist point of view is from this book. So this is from Joanna de Angelis. It's called Existential Conflicts, and she has a whole chapter just talking about anxiety from a Spiritist point of view. But because Joanna de Angelis is a teacher and she approaches the psychological side of the human being, I think it's quite good that it's all correlated. She talks about the mind and, you know, everything from a scientific point of view as well. So she says in this book that anxious behavior is quite often stimulated by continuous discharge of adrenaline. So every time you have these irrational thoughts of something, and you know, we have this imminent fear presented towards us, our body doesn't understand that it's just a thought, and you will prepare for action as if there was a lion in front of you about to eat you alive. And we have discharges of adrenaline from our suprarenal glands into the body going, okay, get your muscles ready, get everything ready to run. So when we're anxious, all these physical symptoms we feel are related to that preparation for the worst to come. So in nature, that's what we would do, you know, when we were evolving, I guess, through all the different reigns. You see, if you observe in BBC or National Geographic, there's a pack of deer, for example. One of them is generally like, you know, paying attention to what's going on. The other ones are just, you know, doing their thing, eating away. The moment one hears a little crack on the bush, they all go and they get ready to run. So it's the same system that we operate on. So we have this adrenaline discharge, and our bodies are basically ready for that 3 F's to danger responses that you might have heard of. So it's the fight, flight, or freeze. So upon imminent danger, we can either freeze and you have no reaction whatsoever. It's like, I'm going to pretend nothing's happening. Or you flight, which is you want to run away. So that's your body saying, okay, run away now. Or you fight. So we might start actually fighting people, or, you know, we might be in the fight mode because we're ready, like there's an imminent danger. So there's a few factors that Joanna mentions could be the predisposition factors for someone that will feel anxious to that extent that is not healthy. So she says predominantly there's conflicts from prior existences, of course. So I think that's the good thing about Spiritism, because I think it does help us understand that it's not that we were just born like that. No, I was born anxious and that's it. You know, like there's no explanation. No, okay, maybe in previous lives I've gone through a few behaviors that impacted negatively on myself, and because of those experiences and those unresolved situations with people and with, you know, certain circumstances, I feel uneased when I'm in those situations because it's something that I developed. So it's, you know, give us back the responsibility, I guess, for how we are today. So we are the result of this series of existences. And most likely, if we're anxious in this life, we have some things that we need to get in balance with. It's possible to get in balance with them, but we have to be aware of them. It's not, oh, we were born like this, so let's take, you know, anxiolytic medication and that's it, because we're going to be treating the symptoms, but we're not going to be treating the cause, which is primarily our behavior, the way we're thinking, the way we're operating, the emotions that we're connecting with. So she says, if we live through several lives, our perispirit and our minds are now the result of these years and years of lived experiences. And she explains that even from childhood, some psychiatrists can understand, like they can observe a few behaviors in a very young child. For example, the first symptoms of anxiety as an innate fear of strangers, mentioned by a psychiatrist called John Bowlby, she mentions, called the attachment syndrome, could be something that's coming from a previous life, that's reflected as a huge attachment to the mother and fear of other people because of some conflictual relationships that individual might have had with others. And it's an inexplicable, innate fear for such a young age, but in Spiritism we have this view that yes, well, it's explainable because that's not just a child that just started its life, it's an eternal spirit that has lived through previous experiences, and it has this tendency for this, but it can be treated. So she says that disattachment, for example, can be worked on a positive way, which is the mom can start teaching the child to feel comfortable and safe through those positive interactions with the mom, and slowly can help the child become comfortable and calm interacting with others as well. So she would be the bridge to learning that those relationships are okay. And through that kind of interaction, prepare the child for a solid interaction with society, when the happiness and satisfaction will, reflect back on that happiness and satisfaction relationship that he had with the mom, therefore trusting other individuals as well. And yes, these other anxiety-related disturbances can be developed because of things that might happen during gestation, some things that happen in our childhood, but mainly she talks about those things are just highlights of what happened to us before. So generally, if there's an anxious pattern, and we understand from a mental health point of view as well, people that have mental health issues in general, they have somehow done some damage to their own perispirits, to their semi-material body. Therefore, their bodies in this life might reflect those issues. But it's something that they need to treat at the spirit level. So they need to understand the core issues and work towards improving them for the long run. So, of course, medicines, seeing a doctor, seeing a therapist is one of the things we're going to talk about. If we have like an extreme case of anxiety, will help with medication to treat some of the symptoms, so you can work on the therapeutic side of things and find out the causes, the root causes, and through finding out the root causes, you then work on behavior changes, which is going to make the spirit change its behavior and then therefore improve on that area. So it's something that will, naturally evolve. But yeah, so Freud explains that the anxiety is a lot of the times related to this insecurity, and it can be unconscious insecurity, because every individual, so we all are born in this life because we have some self-realization that we need to achieve. So we have the goals, the purposes that we've set up for ourselves for this reincarnatory path. When we are not able to achieve them because we've been through many existences where we were trying to escape from them, we feel anxious, we feel guilty about things that we haven't done, and then the anxiety is a result of those decisions that we've been making over lifetimes and lifetimes. So we come into this life going, oh my God, I need to solve these 1,000 problems I have right now, like overnight. I need to manage all these things, because we feel the need to get in balance with those things that we haven't done for a while. I can say hard-headedly here, because I'm quite anxious and I didn't know until I started studying more about anxiety, because people can look super calm and they can be super anxious. Because anxiety is not always translated into outside behavior, but inside you're having those type of conversations, that wasn't good enough, you should be doing more, or how come you let yourself fail like this, and that self-sabotage kind of talk, and that pressure and feeling guilty for like, oh, the world's problems, it's all to do with you. That can be a type of anxiety. And then we try to control things that are not in our control, and we try to control people as well, because then it's easy to get stuff done if you can control everyone, or you think it is, and then you might not realize that you're actually being quite anxious about things. You're not trusting in other people's capacities, you're not trusting in providence. So it's a very interesting thing inside. She says then that in the unconscious of an insecure individual, there is a need for self-realization that, if not achieved, generates escape through anxiety, usually producing weakness of the emotional system and consequently generating stressful behavior. So generally anxious people are always stressed out. we can be sometimes a little bit like that, sometimes not so much like that, but yeah. So this repression will result in this intense anxiety and an emotional state very similar to fear. So that's when we're going towards, okay, this is not healthy anymore, because we just become fearful of everything. But yeah, for some individuals, anxiety has a life of its own, and it can really stop them from doing day-to-day things. That's when they really need to see a psychotherapist and potentially a psychiatrist to ask for help, because yes, it's affecting their physical ability to produce hormones that will actually balance their brains. So, you know, you're having that constant adrenaline and cortisol release in your brain, you need a little bit of dopamine, you need a little bit of something else to balance it all. So if our bodies are not producing it, because we're not able to produce it at the moment, we need that assistance, but a psychotherapist will definitely be the person that will be able to help you understand what is this conflictive existential things that we're facing that are causing our anxiety today. So Joanna actually mentions that some of the specialists in this area, they can actually help with special care, careful observation, and specialized therapy in going back to what are the causes, the rationalization of the today's anxieties that we have, isolating which ones they are, and giving us tools to work on them one by one. So she says that the therapy of release, so it's a therapy of release. So like I was saying, all these different things that we experienced in the past, all those conflicts are within us. They are the cause of this unease. So a psychotherapist will help us identify which ones they are and slowly release those, like, oh, okay, this is unconscious, I don't need to worry about this. So when the thought comes to mind, you're going to go, okay, well, I know what's going on, I know what's starting now, I'm not going to let this escalate to a different level, I'm going to stop you right there, this is not rational, take a deep breath, and then redirect behavior. So it's the rationalization, so she says the process of release, the therapy of release, starts with this rationalization of the torment, working on by reflection, and then adoption of optimism in those areas. So sometimes anxiety might be related to pessimism, because we're thinking about all the worst possibilities about those things that we want to do, instead of thinking, maybe there's a positive outcome to these things. And then we feel that healthy anxiety, which is, oh, I'm really anxious about this to happen, so what should I do? So fear in nature should be helping us protect ourselves, and it helps us prepare for something that we know will be quite challenging. So those are the positive uses, I guess, for anxiety and fear. It's okay, there's something quite imminent I need to get prepared for. What can I do to prepare myself? And then we rationally go through, okay, what can I do? And what's beyond my control? Because generally we get anxious about things that are beyond our control, and we don't have the faith in believing, well, whatever's meant to happen, it will be positive for me, will happen. So it's, I think, developing this optimism. Yes, well, things can happen if they're meant to happen. I'm going to do my part, and I wait. That's what I do. So another thing that I found quite interesting when we're studying for this, patience is a virtue that's opposed to, I guess, the emotion of anxiety. And yeah, I was like, oh my God, I didn't realize how impatient I was as well, and correlating that with anxiety. Because generally when we're anxious, we're impatient first and foremost with ourselves. So you always like asking yourself, you know, to do more, or you should be doing this, you shouldn't be doing that, because you're not being patient with yourself. And then generally that reflects in impatience with others as well. So you're like, oh my God, why haven't they haven't called yet? Or why is it taking so long, you know? So obviously developing patience is an option to increase our chances of succeeding, I guess, in life, and trusting. Right? So, yeah, skilled psychotherapists will be able to help us detect these causes of anxiety, remainders of previous causes, of course, releasing the patient little by little through trust, encouraging towards healthy commitments. So we need to be aware of making healthy commitments to our lives. There's a few things that can be done in the physical level, and there's a few things that can be done from a spiritual and mental, emotional well-being as well. So being active, like physically active, helps us release endorphins, and healthy eating, healthy living can all help us balance our physical bodies. And we need to understand our physical bodies are the temple to the spirit. Some of us have struggled sometimes understanding we're incarnated, we have to sleep, we have to eat, we have to do those things. So we're here for a reason. This is part of our learning process, living through incarnated life. So we need to try and be active, eat well, live well. Remember that friends and family can help. Talk to people. Sometimes we might be feeling anxious about something because it's related to, I don't know, a family matter, that we might be having ideas about what someone's thinking about doing or not doing. And just through simple conversation and a simple communication, we can already understand that there's no reason to be anxious. Everything's okay. Or just opening up, just talking to someone that can hear our concerns, I guess. Being kind to ourselves. So obviously when we're being impatient with ourselves, we are putting added pressure that we don't need, I guess, to succeed. So if we are learning to be kind, to maybe have a few positive affirmations here and there, and even if it's, I'm going to be patient with myself today. If I make a mistake, I'm going to let it go. And appreciate the small victories, quite important as well. Sometimes we focus too much on what we don't have, and we don't take the time to appreciate what we have achieved already. We're going, oh, well done, you've done this quite well. Appreciating the little victories. Joanna mentions that in some cases, the psychotherapist might redirect the patient to experience a fetal or prenatal existence, or life as an infant at home, and go back to maybe an event in this lifetime that wasn't resolved and caused some disturbance in the current mental state that we have, an emotional state. So a skilled psychotherapist can help with that as well. Just going back, okay, maybe there was something your mom said when you were a child and you had that belief for the rest of your life. And when you go back in a session, you might go, oh well, that's resolved now. And you feel like you let go of that burden. But she says that at the same time, you can't put all the expectations on the psychotherapist and not take responsibility. So the patient should take responsibility and should understand the purpose of the current lifetime, adapting himself to a structure of health and peace. So through uplifting readings, so getting books, positive readings that brings us to a better mental state, to a better emotional state, it's quite important. She mentions that breathing exercises in yoga help us discipline our nervous system and help us prepare for those moments when we start feeling anxious, and we can center ourselves back into breathing. And yoga helps a lot because it's a practice that helps you be present. Anxiety is also related to either being stuck in past events or thinking about the future that hasn't come yet. And we lose the present of the present, I guess, the importance, the gift that it is the present. So a lot of those meditation and breathing exercises that are done through yoga is to help us be aware, observe the body, be very present to what you're doing right now. That's quite important to bring back that centering and educating the nervous system again. You breathe, you boost oxygen into your body when you're breathing. So you're naturally gonna first be focused on the breathing and not thinking about whatever you're thinking of that we're triggering anxiety. And you're being able to make your body understand, okay, it's not a dangerous situation. I'm breathing deeply. There's oxygen flowing here. I'm okay. And Louise Hay has one affirmation that is, out of the situation, only good can come. And she says that she always remembers that when something impactful happens, like a bad situation or something, she always stops and thinks, out of the situation, only good will come. And it's like a mantra, out of the situation, only good will come. And then you start believing it. And if you're thinking about that, you're breathing, you're not focusing on the problem anymore, it's a good tool, I guess. Obviously, meditation or prayer instantly helps us connect with our mentor again, and to these energies that are here to support us in these challenges that we live. So our mentors, they know for sure why we're feeling that way. What is that past thing that we've done that we're trying to do again that we shouldn't do, but we're conflicted, oh my God, I don't want to do it anymore, but I can't do the right thing yet, what do I do? If you breathe, meditate and go, oh my God, even if it's a simple, oh my God, mentor, be with me right now, I need you. Automatically we'll be there with you, and you'll be like, okay, I'm here, what can I do for you? That's what they're here for, basically, to support us, overcome our challenges. So when we connect with those energies through prayer, we are getting those positive energies, balancing ourselves from spirit level to the physical body, and obviously going through healing, like spiritual centers can offer, spiritual centers, healing treatments, and using magnetized water. A lot of people, when they do the gospel at home, they might put a bottle of water, and they ask for the spirits to magnetize the water. That can help. With a basic treatment that's quite achievable as well to support with that, because we know if it's within the spirit that the whole thing has been triggered, it's within the spirit that we have to try and fix it. So the material body is a vehicle, and we might use all those palliative treatments to help us ease it on this life, but it's the conquer of peace, inner peace and balance that will help us not feel anxious anymore. So it's every day and many lifetimes until we get there, but we can get there. Likewise, she mentions here the habit of prayer or meditation and the cultivation of dignifying thoughts. So like we said, last month, still within ourselves, I think, whatever we think becomes a reality energetically around us. So when we start educating our thoughts and thinking of positive things instead, we're definitely crowning this healing process for health and peace, which is what we need when we are trying to get balanced with behaviors like this. So I'm just going to finish up by reading this chapter. It's a short message from, it's item 7 from the Gospel According to Spiritism, chapter 9. It talks about blessed are the peaceful and the meek and peacemakers. That talks about patience, which is something that any anxious person has to learn to develop as well. So the Spirit says, so the instruction from the Spirit is about patience. We know full well that life is difficult, being composed of so many apparently useless, insignificant, and valueless things, which act as repeated pinpricks and end up hurting us. However, if in one hand we observe with care the duties imposed on us, and on the other recognize the consolations and compensations received, then we must admit that the blessings are far more numerous than the pains. When our eyes are raised up to heaven, our burdens appear to be less heavy than when our brow is bowed down to the earth. So I guess he's trying to remind us